filtered mostly by our national systems. So if you're doing CBT and standard psychotherapy, maybe they've told you about the fucking sympathetic and parasympathetic system in our brains, and blah blah blah, all that stuff. But they told you nothing about deeper components of the healing journey that are fundamental and crucial to really heal. And also, I think it's something is another reason why I'm doing this. I think it's another reason why the universe wants me to share my learnings and my thoughts and my truths. And it has to do with evolution, right? So this is just a short reflection about evolution. We have evolved a lot, right? And we all studied history, and like we live in the year of science, and then there was industrial revolution, and then there was like whatever, scientific revolution, and probably people who are in the tech area, they will tell you about lots of other revolutions, internet 1.0, internet 2.0, internet 3.0, blah, blah, blah. So we keep evolving, right? We went to the moon and lots of other stuff. We invented whatever, the steam engine and a bunch of other stuff, the computer, the internet, and the iPhone. But there is another aspect of evolution that has been extremely disregarded over human history, and that's the evolution of the soul, the raising of your vibrations. So for those who are in the spiritual community, by the way, I'm not in the spiritual community, so I'm not speaking as a representative of the spiritual community. I'm just saying, those who are there, they probably talk about vibrations a lot. Higher vibration, lower vibration, raising your vibrations, lowering your vibration, blah, blah, blah. But for a lot of people, that stuff is just mumbo jumbo. But it is extremely relevant. So my channel uses a lot of Taoist terminology, right? I mean, it's called the Tao of economics. Like Tao, when I talk about masculine and feminine, I refer to, that's one example of referring to two opposites that are together make one. That's the basic idea around the Tao. And we know that we have two different hemispheres in the brain, right? One which is more logical, rational, and the other one is more emotional and intuitive, and so as different, and creative, artistic if you want. If you are to evolve as a race, as beings, as a society, you need to evolve both of these aspects. Because you have both. It's like having a tree and just watering the right-hand side, keeping it disconnected somehow from the left-hand side. That can't even happen, because in nature things are not disconnected. It's only within us, within our system, that we are disconnected. That doesn't happen naturally in nature. You can't just water the right-hand side of a tree and not the left-hand side. But given that we have these two components within us, right? So the ability to think analytically and critically and logically, and the ability to feel intuitively, creatively, emotionally, empathetically, then those two, for evolution to really take place, those two need to evolve, both of them. But because historically we have placed zero importance on one of these two aspects, I don't have to tell you which one, and we have focused all of our efforts on the other one because that's the easy one, or at least to us it feels easy because it doesn't involve difficult emotions and vulnerability. We have evolved like crazy in the last few hundred years in one aspect, and evolution is surprisingly disappointing when the other aspect is concerned. So let me look at my notes. Okay. Essentially what I'm saying is that we're still babies at the emotional, intuitive, and spiritual level. There is one notable exception here, which is, for me, in my opinion, there are probably more, but it's Buddha and Buddhism, because Buddhism is extremely evolved from the perspective of the emotional and spiritual aspect of humanity, of being a human being. And I'm talking about Buddhism because there could be others, but Buddhism is the only one that has pervaded mainstream society. Even if it's not the philosophy or spiritual belief of most people in the West and most of the world, most people know what Buddhism is, and it's still extremely relevant and it attracts a lot of people. So I think Buddha and Buddhism is the one exception, because that clearly represents an enormous step in evolution, from animals, from cavemen beating each other up with a stick to take the food, and the woman, like super basic needs like animals, like behaving out of instinct, suddenly came a guy, and he basically explained at an unbelievable level what human experience and human purpose is, and how you can be at an unbelievably higher level within this reality and this world. I'm not a Buddhist necessarily, although I do refer a lot and I do use a lot of the teachings of Buddhism because they're extremely wise and extremely helpful and extremely true. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. But we find now ourselves in a strange situation because we have evolved a lot from a technological and scientific perspective. And I keep hearing about like evolution and like the future of the human race and all of that sort of stuff, but it is always referring to the same bloody thing. Like the next step is going to Mars. Why are we going to Mars? As in, I'm not saying it's bullshit. I'm not saying we shouldn't go to Mars. I'm just saying that the future, the evolution, the next step is always seen in a matter of how can we make more money, how can we invent some new stuff, some new technology, some new product that makes new money, a new way of being, like social networks or whatever. It's always like in terms of like a very materialistic, a very technocratic, it's certainly the wrong word, but the sound of it is exactly what I want to say. More science, we need to prove, we need evidence-based. We are obsessed right now with evidence-based. Before we were like maybe a bit too much into the, yeah, I believe there are fairies, and I believe there is Pluto and Neptune, they're gonna kick my ass if I don't do what I want, and stuff like that. But now we are like the totally opposite. We are like preventing, we're like precluding ourselves from learning from our own wisdom and intuition, from our own soul, heart, and higher selves, because everything has to be proved. And if you live purposefully long enough, you realize that 90% of what you actually truly learn, it comes from like the spring of a moment, and it's based on absolutely zero evidence. It's based on an intuitive feeling, and we are totally ignoring that. So I'm saying this because I have a strong feeling now that it is true that we are now in an age of profound evolution, when we are called to evolve as human beings. And if there is one aspect where we have zero evolution, where our accomplishments are pathetic, is precisely in the emotional, spiritual sense of it. Actually, I think spiritual is the word in and of itself. But obviously, when you start walking in that area, enormous amount of bullcrap comes in, right? So I think I've spoken about like the spiritual community. And the reason why I'm ambiguous about it is because there is a lot of bullshit in the spiritual community. A lot of people who are at the denial stage of the traumatic healing process, and they have very little intention of moving past that stage, and so they go into inventing a lot of crap. And they don't, if you want to show something, if you want to teach something, if you want to share something, like just communicate something to someone else, you need to embody to some extent that. To some extent, you need to, your energy needs to be aligned with what you're saying, let's put it this way. And in the spiritual community, a lot of the people, really, their energy is the opposite of what they're talking about. So I can imagine that that doesn't help people who are really skeptical about this spiritual evolution phase we are now entering, being like, yeah, I mean, the crazy dude is saying we are now entering the fifth dimension and the blue cube is coming down from. But that's because they are just like getting to the notions, maybe they've heard it somewhere else, and they're not really doing the walk, because the walking the, how do you say that in English? Walking the walk? Yeah, talk the talk, walking the walk. They're not walking the walk because the walk is fucking hard and it's tough and it requires enormous amount of courage and vulnerability. That doesn't mean it isn't true. And that doesn't mean that a lot of the stuff that are happening now, a lot of the people who are doing amazing things, whether it is in the therapeutic, whether it is in the spiritual, whether it is in the business community, like conscious business community I'm talking about, there are more and more people who really are embracing this call to wake up, to go deeper, to evolve, to become better, to get to a higher level in this sense. And I think that I wish and would like to contribute to that. And I think step one is basically raising a flag and saying, hey guys, this is happening, and there is a reason why this is happening, and there is a reason why it is necessary. And step one is basically to acknowledge that we consider ourselves an evolved society, but we only evolved in one aspect, and very little on the other one. It's not like we have not evolved. I mean, obviously we're not cavemen anymore. It's not the Middle Age anymore. But wars keeps coming up. And why do wars keep coming up? Well, if you follow long enough my channel, at some point it becomes clear. It becomes clear. To me, it is clear why wars keep exploding and coming up, because it keep answering the same question in the same way with a much higher technological level, but the same answer. You can have like what's it called? Faster and light technology, jump technology. If you still approach things with your intentions, with your spiritual, with your personal, with your soul awareness, always in the same place, then the result will always be the same. And I believe deeply now, I've heard it before from other people, and I do believe it myself right now, very clearly, that we're now entering like an age of evolution, deep and powerful evolution on the spiritual level. And I leave it there for today. Ciao.